Hello, everybody. This is Dragyn here, and we are back with another podcast episode. Last week, we talked about TV shows and influences, which was a really interesting and fun little project that I got to do. For this week, I'm moving into some of my favorite movies and their influences on me, and why I remember them so clearly. And I also have some honorable mentions here because I had a really long list. So I'm kind of broke it down into different categories for this podcast episode instead of doing it chronologically because I felt like it could work, but I also feel like the movies I liked have very different plot lines and stories and genres in general. So I've organized it this week from like animated movies to musicals / dramas, because some of them are kind of not musicals, but it is very musical in nature. You'll see what I mean. And then dramas and action and that kind of stuff. So lumped it all together in 3 categories. And then I've got honorable mentions on the side, which is quite a bit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 honorable mentions on the side. So a lot to get through. And this should be interesting. I think a lot of you might be disappointed with my list because I don't have a lot of the amazing classics or superhero movies or anything like that in here, but we'll see what you think. It might be unique and have a different kind of perspective, I suppose. So let's begin with animated movies, because again, that relates to your childhood. So let's kind of go into my childhood a bit. That's always a fun thing. So the first animated movie I remember watching and really loving was Beauty and the Beast. I related to Belle so much as a kid because I was quiet, I loved reading, I had imagination, and as I grew older, I really wanted to travel and explore and get out of the tiny little community I lived in. I didn't fall in love with a beast and lived in a castle and moved not too far away from my home, but I have traveled, I have kept reading and exploring and opening my worldview, so I became the Belle that I wanted to be, basically. The Belle of the Ball. And yeah, I really love that movie. I don't know why. It just, the music, the songs, and just the idea of concept that beauty and attraction isn't all that's needed in a relationship. So it's pretty neat that way. And yeah, just another interesting lesson to kind of learn and instill in yourself as a little one. So thank you, Beauty and the Beast. I appreciate that so much. Then there's Lion King. I still love Lion King to this day, and I recently actually went back and watched it. Not when I say recently, about the last couple years or so. And then I've read Hamlet after, because Lion King is loosely based off of Hamlet, and now that I've done it side by side like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I see it. Absolutely. Crazy uncle wants to get together with with Simba's dad's mom and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, alright, I see it. And then poor Simba being haunted by the death and learning what really happened, and yeah, I see it. There's definitely good correlation there. So Lion King definitely was that first instance of my love of Shakespeare in a very animated, kid-like way, I suppose. And of course, we remember the key lines in that movie, Simba, whatever the light touches is ours. Do not go beyond the light, and all that kind of stuff. And also, the circle of life, good music too for Lion King. And what is in Hakuna Matata, of course. We see that everywhere, and it's actually fun to explore Etsy and just type in Hakuna Matata, and there's so much product you can get with that phrase on it. It's a good time. I realize that I don't have much of a life when I'm doing things like that, but it's okay. I have fun. That's all that counts. So Lion King definitely huge influence on me because a fun kid movie has to do with all the animals and understanding the animal kingdom, and then interesting plot line, and the lions can talk and the animals can talk, and yeah, I was that kind of kid, which also means I liked Dr. Dolittle quite a bit too, although not so much now that I've grown up. that one's a little honorable mention there. As a kid, I loved it because I was like, oh my god, to understand animals and speak to animals. My god, I love it. But not so much now. I'm like, really? Nah, I don't know if I would want to understand all animals. Maybe just a few. But anyway, I digress. So Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. And let's see here. Let's go back to a few older classics too. So I am one that actually really loved the movie Anastasia. So for those that don't know what Anastasia, it's a movie like this princess basically grew up. But when she was really, really little, her palace and basically where she grew up gets completely destroyed and ransacked, and a lot of people died. It's a horrible tragedy. That's how the freaking movie opens up. But she escapes and kind of lives in an orphanage for a while, and she's this like really quirky, cool kind of princess. Doesn't really dress up or acts like a proper lady in that kind of air quotes there around lady, proper lady. But yeah, then she meets this guy. There's this attraction and the silly henchman, and they use her as like a princess, but then they realize that, oh crap, she is the missing princess. It's such a good movie. I actually really, really loved it. And then there's some evil things that happen, and damn it, there's a little devil thing in there. Yeah, there's things that are a little ridiculous in the movie for sure. But my favorite song that I still love to listen and sing to is Once Upon a December, and that comes from that movie. And I love going back and watching that movie every now and then because it's just, I don't know, just seeing this quirky little princess and then her having to act ladylike, and then basically by the end of the movie she gets to have both. She gets to be, knows when to act like a lady but also knows how to be herself. So it's a beautiful message in the end, despite all the craziness that happens in Anastasia. So really good movie, very good music, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Plus the guy that she meets, the ruffian, I suppose, not bad looking either, and quite interesting. So there you go. There's that. There's Anastasia. Then the next two came out around the same time, if I remember correctly. At least like the first movie for one of them. And this, so I'll just say it: Treasure Planet and the Atlantis series. I love Treasure Planet so much. Just this, what is up with me liking bad boys who end up doing good? It's a trope, and it's a trope I enjoy apparently, but gotta love it. Just unique, quirky characters going through space, and this movie came out at a time where I really was into space and weather and science. So this idea of this golden ball that turns into the secret treasure map, and they have to go find the treasure, and either it's become pirates and be like a bad people that take the treasure for their own good, or take the treasure and do good with it kind of thing. Yet a whole lot happens, lots of plot twists, but good music comes out of that one again. I'm Still Here by the Goo Goo Dolls. Freaking fantastic song. Really love it. Resonate with it still to this day. So it's just such a good movie. Space travel, stars, maps, unique technology with unique characters. Captain Amelia is still my favorite. And to this day, I still want to make a D&D character based off of Captain Amelia. Hardcore. So there's that. I've made a character kind of like the scientist that's sort of like the family friend, I suppose, for Jim and his mom. But yeah, and plus, how could I forget Morphe? Morphe's the cutest little thing that can look and ditto. It can be like ditto. I can't think of words. It is 9 a.m. so my bad. But Morphe's the best. So very good movie. I treasure it to this day. Haha. Puns. And then there's Atlantis. My god, I love Atlantis. It's just again, unique, nerdy little characters. Well, me and nerdy little characters, it makes my heart go boom boom, because yeah, just I wish I looked up the character names before this, because that would have been helpful. But again, just like someone who's like, it is real, Atlantis is real, we will find it. And then they actually get funding in a quirky, unique little way, because most movies are like that. And they go on the expedition, find Atlantis, and learn more about what the people have done to survive and live, and the crystals and all that kind of really cool mysticism. I just so enjoy it. And on my computer somewhere, probably in my D&D folder, I still have this idea to combine both Treasure Planet and Atlantis into like a campaign, basically, where basically the Treasure Planet, so the characters all start out with a piece of a map, basically, kind of like the little golden ball that becomes like the treasure map. Well, each D&D character will have a map on, or a piece of a map on them that they found, and they've spent the years traveling trying to figure out who has the other pieces. Well, something happens at the docks in Waterdeep, because I'm always basing things on Waterdeep, and they ended up randomly being pushed together, and suddenly suddenly something has to happen where they have to look in through their inventory, maybe for payment to go on a ship or something like that. I haven't figured that part out yet, but then they realize that they all have this map, and when they put it all together, it's like, oh, there should be like a floating island somewhere north of Waterdeep. And then when they get to that island, it is basically like Atlantis, where there's those guardians that protect the city, waterfalls, beautiful scenery, and all that kind of stuff. And there will be a treasure on this island that they have to find. But there's also other things going on the island too. So definitely a campaign idea, but I would love to put both together, because those movies just aesthetically are so great. Even to this day, I know animations don't usually age well, but gosh, these two movies, no matter what it looks like to me, I still deeply and thoroughly love it and enjoy it. And for Atlanta specifically, I remember McDonald's, for kids' toys, had like the little crystal necklaces from Atlantis that you can get in a kid's toy, and I loved that thing so much when I was little. So I had to put those two for sure on my list, because space, travel, music, adventure, mysticism, quirky little characters, nerdy characters, brave, adventurous characters, those are my types. It had all my types right in there. Next, we're going to take a little trip down to Christmas. Yes, for animated films. Remember, these are all animated, and the only, in my opinion, I know there's so many animated Christmas movies, like there's Mickey Mouse specials for sure that I still love to this day, and all that kind of stuff, but one that I continue to go back to every Christmas season, because I think a lot of people have that tradition too. So this might be like, please tell me it's this movie, and some of you are in anticipation waiting to hear what movie it is, and it is the Polar Express. At Christmas time, you want to watch a movie where maybe you've had a crap year, like we've all had, and you just don't believe in a lot of good currently. And so when you watch a movie that, yeah, resonate with this like kid who's like, I'm all grown up, I don't believe in Santa anymore, finally it gets awakened and has to kind of rediscover the joy of Christmas again. It just warms your heart. And again, quirky characters, neat little like things happen. I still remember playing the video game for Polar Express on my Game Boy Advance, I think. God, it's been so long, but, and like the train scene where he goes skiing with the ghost, or not so ghost, who knows. Such a good movie. There's so much about it that I loved, and they do it so well where they give the main character a little bit of joy throughout. Then a lot of things happen. He's like, oh no, I don't want to screw up and ruin another person's Christmas. I may not believe in it, but I don't want to ruin it for anyone else. And then they finally get to the girl, give her her ticket, and then they head back through the train, and that like one car is like all these forgotten toys that kids don't play with anymore. And you're like, oh man, I feel like that. I'm an adult. Ugh, gross. But it's another kind of like reinforcement, like, don't do this. Hold on to your childhood and believe in like the joy of Christmas. So yeah, even as a 26-year-old, I still go back and watch Polar Express as often as I can during Christmas. Last couple of years I didn't, but last year I did, and I loved it so much. Just such a heartwarming film, and just to remember that there's joy and good in the world. You need that, absolutely, especially after a crazy year. So Polar Express had to be on my list for animated films, absolutely. Then we move to Happy Feet. I put Happy Feet on my list. I don't know why, but I think it's probably because, again, I think we all hit that stage when we're little that we love penguins. We like the North Pole, the South Pole, and seeing all the different kinds of penguins and learning more about them. And Happy Feet came out again when I was in that phase, and I was like, look at the little penguins. And Mumble is the best penguin ever. He can dance, but he can't sing. And penguins, again, most animals have a mating call or some sort of mating song that they use to find their mates and have babies with. So that idea with penguins too, and he can't sing, and then everyone's worried that he won't find his partner, but then gets the whole village dancing and singing. It's just so cute. And again, another wholesome movie that you need sometimes. So Happy Feet, I always go back. Plus, my favorite penguin is the little, like, chubbier one who's like, don't push me because I am close to the edge and I'm not trying to lose my head. I love that scene because I'm like, that little guy is me. I would say something that unique and a little stupid too. So I get you, buddy. You're my favorite. So I love that movie, but just also just believing in yourself and knowing that if you can't fit in, find a way to make everyone fit with you or accept you as you are. So yeah, related to that message in that movie quite well. So that's why it's on my list. And yeah, I love Happy Feet. I want to go back and watch it again now that I have Disney Plus. But it's a wholesome, good movie. And now, looking at my list here, moving to my last two for animated films. My goodness. I'm going to go with Inside Out. Now, a weird one maybe to put on a list of movies and influences, but I thought it was really unique to see sort of like in someone's head and their emotions and how it affects them. It was really neat because I remember my friends back in high school at the time were like, oh, Violet, you're so sadness. You're so sad. And I was like, why? Why am I that character? And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Sadness, I got you. I get you. For sure. Because what that movie does really well is seeing how all the emotions interact with each other. And sort of them kind of splitting off and going to different directions, right? And then that's kind of the whole idea of the movie. And then trying to get back together because they realize that you can't just have one emotion all the time and be in one emotional stance your entire time, because that's when, you know, your life gets affected. And that happens in this movie for the little girl, I think. The little girl that has the emotions in her that this movie's based in, because she starts to lose memories or ideas and loses her joy because joy goes missing, kind of thing. So it is really unique, and just realizing that, like, yeah, we all have emotions and it's not good to get rid of them. It's not really good to try to lose one or forget about one. You need all of the emotions to make you who you are. And I love that. Sometimes you need that, especially when you've been feeling a certain way for so long, And then all of a sudden you're just like, you put on Inside Out and you're like, I have joy in me still. If joy can come back and be with the other emotions and make everything work again, I have that too. It's in there. What do I need to do to unlock it? I don't know, but it's in there. So I love that movie so much. And yeah, sadness, very much still me. I get you, sadness. And what's important though is, yeah, finding little moments of joy, which I'm actually working on a personal project right now. It's called Focus on the Positives. And so that's all about finding your joy again and kind of rewriting or rethinking your negative thoughts. So in a sense, I am playing out my own Inside Out right now in my life. And it's kind of a unique experience. So I appreciate that movie deep down on like a spiritual level, emotional level too. Haha. Okay. That's the last comment for that one, for sure. And then my still favorite movie, like most recent Disney movie that I love, and that is Moana. I love Moana so much. I like the music, the songs, the beautiful like history and culture that they explore. I know that there's still critiques from like people in Hawaii and other places of the movie that it isn't exactly like that, but it's a fairly good representation from what I've basically generally understood. But just like the connection to the ocean and like trying to go on an adventure and be who you really are, yet having parents and like culture try to keep you down, and then going on this journey anyway and realizing I can have both. I should be able to have both. I should be who I want to be while also still having my culture and who I am and where I came from. Beautiful movie. I really love it, and it's beautifully animated. Like when her grandma comes up. By the way, I should really put a big spoiler warning everywhere on this podcast episode. So if you're 22 minutes in and you're like, the heck, man, sorry, just spoiler heavy movie, or spoiler heavy movie episode, I suppose. But when her grandmother's spirit comes up as like that manatee, stingray, beautiful sea creature. That was so beautiful. And then the song that comes afterwards, it's so moving. And then the whole thing with the island and like what they find and dealing with like, again, just the two elements of like fire and earth and water and like the natural elements and what you should do with it or how you should deal with it, and believing in like the gods and like your culture. It's such a beautiful movie. And my work actually keeps playing It Calls Me, like that song. That's not the name of the song. I'm very sorry, guys. I should have done a little more research before this, but the week got away from me again. But that song where like the wind and the seas and the skies, it calls me. Da, da, da. Yeah, that. My work plays that, and every time I hear it, or whenever I can hear it, I'm just like, Moana, I am Moana. It just, again, brings that little joy in me, I suppose. And yeah, that is my animated movies for you guys. So Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Anastasia, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Happy Feet, Polar Express, and Moana. Those are the top animated movies for me that still stick with me to this day. I still want to go and rewatch them all and just relive that kind of joy it brings. So those are the animated movies that I've enjoyed over the years. Now we're moving on to more musically based movies. I will get a lot of judgments from you all. I know I will. But that's okay. I'm here for it. But yeah, so I say musically based movies. So these movies aren't always about the music or it's not a huge potential focus, but I love the soundtrack to it. Or there's like a really good like dance number or singing number or musical number in the movie. So I kind of put it all in that category. So hang tight. I'm getting readjusted in my seat and I'm going to be waiting for your comments after this. So the first one I have on my list is actually quite I say older / not so older movie. Came out in the early 2000s-ish, but I still love it to this day, and it's a Hilary Duff movie, and that is Raise Your Voice. I love that movie so much because, not gonna lie, when I was younger, Hilary Duff like fangirl all the way, for sure, but just again, interesting characters, going to college despite tragedy and like not wanting to sing ever again, and that kind of like resonates because when something really awful happens, like again, spoiler heavy here, she loses her brother who has encouraged her and basically supported her love for music and being in the arts. When that part of you is gone, you never want to do it again, and that basically is what this movie is her, like Hilary Duff's character, going anyway and getting some encouragement from a friend and just kind of saying, you know what, let's do it, he would want me to do it, and that plays out really heavily throughout the whole thing. And then she meets a guy, which that actor is my favorite. I need to look that up because he's amazing. He's in so many movies, by the way, so you're gonna understand my movie interest based on this actor. Which sounds crazy, but I don't know. There's actually quite a few movies on my list where I like it because the actors or actresses are quite similar, or the music's quite similar, or they play on the different musics used. 2004 film. Damn. Dang, that's 17 years old already. God, I'm too old for this life. Oliver James. That's his name. What a phenomenal actor. He's in What a Girl Wants. He's in Raise Your Voice. Oh, God, a couple other movies. I think... Yeah. Anyway, I love him. He's great. Oh, he's in Burlesque too, I think. Which was on my list. Anyway. Oliver James is really great. Yeah. Alright. But yeah, Raise Your Voice. So back to that, and then... Yeah, and like the teacher in that movie, the one teacher she has for one of the classes, such a cool dude. Definitely wants to be like that over hip kind of teacher, but the way he does it makes him cool anyway in my eyes. So I really love this movie. And then again, Raise Your Voice, so finding your voice again and willing to perform on stage and challenge yourself vocally and that kind of thing. It's such a good movie, and it is really moving. The song that she does sing at the very end, Someone's Watching Over Me, is the song she sings. It's so beautiful and fitting because, yeah, she's worked this entire school year to try to find her voice, challenge herself, meets the guy who helps her and challenges her even further to produce a beautiful song about her brother. And her family discovers that she snuck off to college and comes to listen to her performance, and all is well. All is well ends well. So a beautiful movie. I love it so much. Raise Your Voice. I don't think I could ever forget that movie. And I don't think I could ever forget Hilary Duff, who we get to see acting again very soon in the reboot of How I Met Your Mother. Only I would be excited about that. Moving on. Okay, the next one here is a unique one, so definitely musically based, but not your typical over-the-top musical, if you know what I mean. Like, Raise Your Voice wasn't either. The songs are kind of woven into the story, and same thing goes here, and some of you might be actually really happy that I mentioned this, but this movie is really great. It has a lot of influences from the Beatles, the 60s era, dealing with communism, revolution, all that kind of stuff. So the movie here is Across the Universe. I love this movie so much. It's so cleverly done. Having a character named Jude and Lucy, and just the way they weave the different Beatles songs and other like 60s genre too. There's Jimi Hendrix character in there. I can't remember the other lady right at this moment, but I think I want to say, I don't remember. Anyway, the way they weave in the Beatles and 60s era vibe and songs into the story is so cool, because as I said, we get to hear Hey Jude in this song. We get to hear Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Girl, Something, Revolution. Oh, there's so many. We have a character named Prudence as well. And like just so many great Beatles songs. And then they go to a party in America and we hear the walrus, cuckoo, choo. We go down that crazy road at one point, and like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is thrown in there at one point, and Get By a Little Help from My Friends. Like, just all these songs are woven into the story and like performed really beautifully, and such talented actors in that movie too. So I really love Across the Universe, and I remember watching that in grade 9 English for a project, and that boom kicked off my like absolute love and fascination with the Beatles in that era. And I was just that nerdy, geeky kid that just spent a lot of time reading about the 60s and 70s when the Beatles were really prominent. And now I have a whole Spotify playlist dedicated to that era. So it's so unique and very different, and I feel like I'm always constantly learning something new about the Beatles, like every couple years, and I'm just like, they existed. They somehow survived and lived throughout all of this craziness, and it's really neat. So I love Across the Universe. Very, very good. And that leads to the actor. That's it. I'm using my phone and I'm searching up actors again, because when people are talented, okay? Let's go. I'll just search up the movie. That's a 2007 film. Damn. I'm old. Jim Sturgess. I knew it was Jim something, but I couldn't remember his last name. Jim Sturgess. One of my honorable mention movies is another movie that has him in it, and it's 21, like the Blackjack kind of movie. So good. He's such a talented actor. My goodness. Yeah, and so many good actors in there. We have TV Carpio. She's fantastic. Plays Prudence. Martin Luther McCoy. Such a good character. Joe Anderson. And but it's a beautiful movie. It's very talented people in that movie. So there we go. We got Raise Your Voice, college movie, finding your voice again after a tragedy, Across the Universe, just weaving a whole 60s era throughout a story with music and talent. Oh, Darling is in that song too, and While My Guitar Gently Weeps. How do I remember all this? I love the Beatles. That's how I remember it. Moving on now is very much a musical. Woven into a story as well, and it's actually a really beautiful story about friendships and trying to figure out interest, who we are, and that kind of thing. So, Disney movie, we'll say that right now, and it is Lemonade Mouth. For one, the music in that movie is great. I actually really enjoyed it. Not so much the band that they compete with. That stuff was okay to me. But the Lemonade Mouth, like their songs and music was really, really great. And just, it's almost like a Breakfast Club meets a musical kind of thing. Because all these characters follow a certain stereotype. And then they're all brought together one day in detention, of course, to follow the Breakfast Club kind of connection. And they're just sitting at the desk, and suddenly they start tapping pencils and create a beat and start singing together, and boom, they have the idea to create a band. And there's a lot of other political parts to that movie too, where they're cutting the arts, wanting to get rid of their auditorium and replace it for a football field for the sports and that kind of thing. But then they help basically fight it. And it starts to have, oddly enough, it starts with like a lemonade machine, like it dispenses cans of lemonade, and hence lemonade mouth. And so they fight that, and then they realize that they can take it further and fight like the whole school and like the district and how they are trying to cut the arts. And yeah, it's quite a crazy story, but there's a lot of interesting influences on the characters and how they develop and change throughout the movie and find themselves and get out of tough or secret relationships and find each other. And it's a really beautiful movie. And there's a really sad part where the one girl, Bridget Mendler's character, her cat dies, and it's just the saddest thing ever. And then they face a lot of difficulty where the members get sick or injured, and then they have to overcome it, and they come together, and it's a super good movie. I love it still to this day, and I remember showing it to my little brother, and he's hilarious because he doesn't like sad parts in movies. He will fast forward it, but then he liked the music, so he'll go back and listen to the songs without actually watching the actual scene play out. So he liked the music in that one too. So boom, siblings in my family also like that movie, so you know it's good, or that we just have one particular taste. Leave it with that, shall we? Now, the next 3 are a bit of my guilty pleasures, I suppose, and movies that I will go watch all of them whenever I'm in a funk, or if I'm feeling just mentally blah and I need something to like lift me up kind of thing. So they're guilty pleasures, but rad music. I love the soundtracks. I have all of their soundtracks for these 3 movies. Actually, technically, wouldn't it be 5? Yeah, 5 movies. I have all the soundtracks on Spotify as well, and I don't know, it's a good time. So let's go through each one. First one here, Burlesque. I have always been a Christina Aguilera fan and a Cher fan. Musically wise, I guess, and performance wise, their voices are absolutely amazing. And so when I saw both of them come together in a movie, I was like, what? And yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a cute little story. Small town girl tries to go to LA or New York or something. Probably LA, I think it is. Trying to make it, you know, in the performing arts, be a big star. And of course, being a regular radio singer didn't work out, and things get crazy, and she gets her money stolen, and just again, down in the dumps. But then discovers this little burlesque lounge on Sunset Boulevard, and boom, she is hooked and interested and into the whole scene of like the performance and the confidence it gives women and the singing and the vocals, and it's there's so much talent in there. Oh, Julianne Hough is in there, so the dancer, she's in there too in that movie. And again, the guy that I mentioned for Raise Your Voice, that actor's in there too. Good times. It's a really good movie, and the music is fantastic. And yeah, I still have yet gone to a burlesque show myself, but I want to when the world pandemic can hopefully stop being a pandemic, because again, it'd just be neat to see it. So burlesque is one of those guilty pleasures I love, but 3 powerful women in performing arts is in that movie, and they're all beautiful. There you go. That's all I need to say. They're all beautiful. Next is Easy A. Now, I'm laughing because I have a funny story about Easy A that I still sort of have to not cringe every time I think about that story, but I will. But Easy I saw in theater with a couple friends, with a group of my friends actually in high school. So definitely it's been a few years since this movie. And they were making jokes about the movie the entire time because it wasn't their scene, but I was like really into it. And I still am to this day, obviously, as why it's on my list. But the scene where this actor's so great too. God, he played Jeremy Renner. That's his name. Is it? No, I don't think it's Jeremy Renner. Shit. I know him as, oh God, my favorite Avenger. Don't even fight me on Avengers. Just don't worry about it. What movie am I looking at? Easy A. Dan Byard, I think. He's in that movie. Right. He looks like Jeremy Renner. Give me a break. And Emma Stone, Amanda Bynes. I mean, listen to this cast for this movie. Emma Stone, Amanda Bynes, Penn Badgley, who plays the main character in You, and was in Gossip Girl. So I like him too, okay? I forgot Gossip Girl, my TV shows and influences. How dare I? Anyway, Stanley Tucci. I love his character so much. Dan Baird, Patricia Clarkson. Where's the actress that plays Phoebe? Lisa Kudrow. She's in this movie too. Like, Allie is in there too, from Allie and AJ, and Phil of the Future, if you guys remember her. She's in that movie. Like, just a crazy childhood, like, great actors in this movie for me. But I like this movie quite a bit because the humor is my type of humor, you know, a little bit self-deprecating, joking, and the music is interesting. Really good soundtrack to like go for a walk to, by the way, like I just did this morning. Very, really neat. And the story itself is unique because normally in high school you try to fit in, so you want to do things like the popular girls do and blah blah blah, but this movie kind of is like that, but almost by accident and by not having the best of friends, really. And I don't know, it's such a funny movie, and there's a musical number in here, so that's why it's in my musicals list, okay? Because Emma Stone's character basically said, it was like, what happened to men from the 80s? Is chivalry really dead? I want someone to stand outside my bedroom window holding a boombox above their head and singing to me. I want someone to like give me a fist bump in the air because they've won the lady, and like that kind of thing. She goes on that around like a tangent for a bit, and then she's like, plus I just wanted my own really cool musical number. And so there is a musical number in the movie that's really great, that gets the start of everyone listening to her webcast, basically, of like, this is what's really happened. I am really, really sorry. I finally am in a proper relationship, and I won't tell you anything about it because it's none of your damn business. And it's very cute. The last romantic scene with my brain, Woodchuck Todd is him driving up to her lawn on a lawnmower, blasting music on speakers, and it's Don't You Forget About Me from the Breakfast Club. So 80s song, lawnmower, boombox style thing, and as she hops on the ride on the lawnmower, they give a fist bump in the air. So why do I like that scene so much? I like the 80s. Yeah. I will get to a couple of 80s movies and 90s movies actually in my next category, but I love Breakfast Club, and Don't You Forget About Me is such a great finale song to any movie, so that made me happy with Easy A, and why guilty pleasure. That's all you really need to know. There you go. Feel good movie, a good message, good cute little ending, and there's really subtle like plot clues throughout the movie too that makes me happy as an English teacher, where she says something at the beginning of the film, and it's kind of woven in throughout, and then it really actually manifests at the end. So makes me happy there that way. Goodness, words. So Pitch Perfect is my next one. The Pitch Perfect series. Oh, I forgot to say the embarrassing thing that happened. So, movie theater. So, the gay character in the movie, played by Dan Bird, Brandon, he comes up to her room, her bedroom, and is like, because they had detention together, and they were talking about, like, what's this new, like, slutty persona that you have? And she's like, oh, yeah, well, maybe you can learn something from me, Brandon. Maybe you should find yourself a fake girlfriend. And boom, so cue the bedroom scene where he comes up, and he's like, do you want to go on a date? And ask her, and then they kind of have a little argument. Like, that's not what I meant when I said that. You should just fake it. And he goes, who would believe me? Because everyone in the school thinks he's gay, and he is gay. But he wants the bullying to stop. So he opens his heart about that, and how, like, it's painful to be at the school every day dealing with that bullying. So please, 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 he basically begs her, can you help me? Will you do this for me? And there's a little pause after he asks her, after, like, opening up about all that stuff. And there's me. Movie theater is dead quiet, kind of appreciating the silence and going, yes! I just shouted out yes, and then I just sunk in the movie theater seats, and my friends could not stop laughing. So whenever I get to that scene, I'm always, like, cringing. I'm like, God, I'm such an idiot. So that's my embarrassing moment in a movie theater. There you go. Now you get to hear it. Next, guilty pleasure movies, though. Pitch Perfect. I love so much that movie. There's so much interesting talent again in that movie, in that series. Like, oh gosh, I can't think of any other names right now. I'm very tired. So Anna Kendrick, Rebel Wilson, Brittany Snow. Goodness, Haley Steinfeld comes in during the last two movies. Elizabeth Banks is in it. I love her. I love that actress. Has such fun humor in there. Skylar Astin, my bad, is very great. Like, all these actors. Adam Devine is in that movie, who is actually in, like, a few other things I've seen recently, like Modern Family. I love him. Ben Platt is so good too. My voice cracked. Don't worry about it. Yeah, just, again, such really great talent is in this movie. And Christina Aguilera makes an appearance. I remember that. Yep. But Pitch Perfect. So what can I say about Pitch Perfect? Yeah, it's a very predictable movie and series. And I don't know, though, it's kind of, again, just guilty pleasure. I think I like the music that they sing and play to. And again, quirky personalities, silliness, edginess to it. You have all of it represented in that movie in a very musical way, musical sense, if that makes sense. Wow, that was a great sentence. But yeah, it's guilty pleasure, good soundtrack, great music, funny performances, over the top kind of hilarity and drama. So yeah, there's that. It's uplifting too. It always comes with a good ending or a good message at some point during all three movies. So I will leave it at that. Now next is actually Hairspray with Zac Efron and many others. I love Hairspray so much because I think I relate to some of the characters quite well. Plus, John Travolta playing a woman and doing it so well. Yes, please. And plus, that's why also Grease is on my list, because I had to add Grease because Grease is great and John Travolta is great, and same with Olivia Newton-John. But I loved Hairspray so much. Just again, that kind of cool era of music and like the jazziness to it. Again, a movement about equality for Black people and communities, and that coming out in that movie that really should be focused and in play more, like to this day. Like that's still something super important, and while there was a win in that movie, it's still just not enough. And so I don't know, there's just so much about that movie. The music's great, the ridiculous characters, again, over the top performances, but the big dreams, the big goals everyone has, and how they work really hard together to make it happen with resistance and enemies, because there's definitely that in the movie. But it's a really fun movie. I really love it, and I think it's done pretty well. So Hairspray is up there for me. Next is The Greatest Showman. Yep, The Greatest Showman. I really love that movie. I'm a Hugh Jackman fan, though, all in all. So there's that. And I think if I were to put superhero movies on here, it'd be the Wolverine ones, or where Wolverine is part of it, because I love Hugh Jackman. And again, another movie about big dreams, big goals, trying to do your best and do what you can from like where you grew up and how you lived. And it has the whole circus thing, and it just more characters that have been pushed down by society, bullied, picked on. And sure, it's really bad that the character P.T. Barnum, he uses them for entertainment value and to make a living. Not a good thing, but of course throughout the movie the message is like, no, we're family, we're here for you, and if you could do that for us, then yeah, that'd be great. And plus Zac Efron's in that movie as well. God, what's up with me and Zac Efron? But again, I like the music. I like the little girls, his little girls and his wife. It's beautiful characters, beautiful people in the movie. And yeah, and then again, there's like big kind of a little bit of political things happen in that movie, where what P.T. Barnum does is such a unique, weird change to society, and it's different. So there's that revolt to like difference and not liking it, and almost like a homophobic kind of feel to it, and revolution to it. And then also like putting in to characters who really are not like a freak or different or unique. They're quite average, but because of their skin color during this time when this kind of all started, yeah, they were put into the freak category. And so there's a lot of that kind of conversation in the movie. And there's actually a song, Rewrite the Stars, that both Zendaya and Zac Efron sing, and it's hilarious because last night I was going through Twitter, and the one person I followed was like, how come it took me this long to watch The Greatest Showman, that this scene is the most beautiful like performance that I've seen in a musical. And it's true, and it's Rewrite the Stars, and it's so acrobatic and beautiful, and it has an important message like, yeah, we can't be together because we can't rewrite the stars. But then the song shifts and changes, and it's like, maybe it could happen, but right now it can't, and because of society and how people would view us and all that kind of conversation about it. So a lot of elements of that movie I really loved, and such talented people are in that movie as well. So Greatest Showman I love. I will rewatch that movie probably for years to come. Absolutely. Now, last but not least, I talked about musicals. It's time to talk about a musical that has really taken the stages across Broadway, the world. Really started off with just releasing soundtracks and songs first before anyone could see the performance, and then they added it to Disney Plus recently. Yeah, that build-up probably explains it well. Hamilton. Fuck yes, Hamilton. I love anything with history in it. Just FYI, historical influences, historical fiction. I love it. So Hamilton had already kind of just that word and that person in history. I was like, oh, time to deep dive into American history because I'm Canadian. I don't know a lot about it, but gosh, that musical is so good. Gosh, I actually have it on my watch list for like the next weekend or the next time of a day off because I love it so much, and the music is so good. It gets stuck in your head, and God, there's not enough words to describe Hamilton. I love the actors, and plus I'm just a huge fan of it for sure. And there's the talent in Hamilton blows my mind. So Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I was trying to find his name. What a brilliant writer, and just I love Lin-Manuel. He's so good. Yeah, he is such a great actor. He's a singer. He's written the songs. He's raps. He directs, produced, playwright. Like, it's so good. And I'm just going through all the photos of like the play again. It's so well done. Again, I'm almost left speechless because of just that effect it had on me. And I probably will never forget the songs. And yeah, I will remember to always take my shot. And I will stop making lame jokes for the rest of this episode. Hamilton, very good. Go watch it. I love historical fiction and performances and portrayals of history. I love it. So if you are like me, Hamilton's up your speed. Go watch it. Absolutely. And I mentioned Grease, of course, and there's some other really good classical musicals that I love too, like Chicago, Rent. Why is my brain doing this? I do love Moulin Rouge too. Very good. I do love musicals as well, like as the proper musical performances too. So those are there too. It's just these were the ones that have really stuck with me, and I could tell you the whole plot about all of these from start to finish because it's just stuck with me so much. So there you have it for musicals and musically based movies. Now onto this over-encompassing drama, action, adventure kind of category. I threw it all in together because why not? Now, I don't think I have time to go through each one of these. So I'm going to be kind of picky and choosy. And then honorable mentions and whatever's left will be just kind of briefly mentioned. Because I realize I'm already at an hour. So I'll just try to do my best to get through this. So let me see. I have 13 movies. So I'm going to pick 5. Now that's going to be really hard for me. So bear with me, but I do want to start with The Breakfast Club. As you can tell, the patterns between all the categories here, I love it with I love stories that have unique characters that go against the mold, break away from the stereotypes the best they can, and become friends or boyfriend, girlfriend, partners, that kind of thing. So Breakfast Club has all of that, and I've taught the Breakfast Club as a film study a couple times at one of my very first school that I had a job at, and so I know a lot of weird random facts about the Breakfast Club. But the director, my gosh, he wanted a movie that represented the everyday man, the everyman, the every person. You could see yourself being any one of these characters, and I think he captured that idea so well in this movie, because you've got your stereotypes, you've got your what is it? The brainiac, the jock, the nerd, the goth, and the criminal, right? Like those 5 things that are all at the beginning and at the end of the movie. And so through being in all-day detention with a ridiculous principal, you mess with the bull, you get the horns, that kind of thing. It's just such a unique movie where it should be a boring movie. They're in an all-day Saturday detention, sitting together in silence, having to write a paper. It should be boring, but it isn't, because they start talking to each other. And at first it's hostile and they want to stay in their little niche, like safe stereotype kind of box and identity. But as the movie progresses, that slowly gets broken down and it just tears it away. It takes all those stereotypes away. And the nerd, Brian, in the movie, the essay that he writes is beautifully done, because it's basically calling out the principal for making them be in these stereotypes and for acting and playing on it. And it's like, isn't it not okay to do that? It's not great. We can all be friends, and that can happen, and we've seen it today. But then there's that reality at the end of the movie where it's like, sure, Judd Nelson gets the girl and it's exciting, but they all come up to a realization that they're the only ones that experience this in the entire school. They're the only people in each kind of stereotype that can come together and be friends because they've experienced it together. As soon as they go back to school on Monday, what's going to happen? Are they going to forget about it? Are they going to start tearing down the walls? Or are they immediately going back into their niche, their kind of comfort zone? So it's a really cool movie. I think it has that message at the end where it's like, yeah, you can be friends with people from different stereotypes and groups, and it's wonderful. But is it enough just to have 5 people do it? 5 or 6 people do it? No. You have to have a whole school or a whole community get on board and try to rewrite stereotypes or get rid of the stereotypes altogether. So it's such a good movie and very relatable, very topical as well. Even to this day and age, a 1985 movie can still be seen as relatable to every person in some way or another. So I love it. Love Breakfast Club. Absolutely had to put that on my list. Next, now I'm very sorry, this movie does have a beloved actor that has, been gone for a few years, so I'm very sorry for some emotions that might pop up for all of you, but this movie has the very famous line, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." And so the movie is Dead Poets Society. I love this movie. Just again, there's that play on like at universities, like prestigious universities where there's secret societies and clubs and that kind of thing. So there's a play on that for sure. But the way Robin Williams, the way his character is, the teacher, has always stuck with me. Just being there for the students and kind of destroying the idea of a typical teacher and just getting a whole class engaged, involved, and wanting to actually learn poetry or write poetry. Beautiful movie. And the movie's actually a bit sad. Like, I'm getting emotional over Robin Williams, of course, because again, he's our genie in Aladdin, he is our teacher, he was in Flubber, he's in all these phenomenal movies, and National Treasure, which is on my list here too. And of course we all have that kind of fondness for him, but just take that away and that movie is just so beautiful and deals with like real things going on for all the kids involved in the club. And the movie ends relatively close to a suicide that happens in that movie. And just, again, another way to bring everyone together and honor what happens. And it's a beautiful movie that still gets me emotional to this day. And I remember watching that movie in junior high, or in middle school for me, and high school. We watched it twice in my school program. And oh, it's so beautiful. And oh, what a gem Robin Williams is. Of course they had to bring him up in this one, guys. It's so sad what happened with him, but that movie is just beautiful. All in all. And it has A Midsummer's Night Dream in it, which is one of my favorite Shakespearean plays, so there's that. Okay. No more emotions. Picking my next 3. Here we go. I'm not going to bring up National Treasure because that'll just make me cry again, so there's that. And Awakenings 2 is another Robin Williams film that I really liked because his portrayal of being a really human, good doctor instead of someone who's like, well, we're dealing with all these patients that are going to die anyway, and kind of shutting down humanity, but he never does that in that film. So just again, a beautiful man. Beautiful man he is. And let's go with another kind of English related movie. Well, why not? I'm an English teacher. You're stuck with me, guys. I'm sorry. But Stranger Than Fiction is such a unique movie. It has Will Ferrell in it. I absolutely love him. And a few other really great actors in that movie. But I love that concept where as an author is writing her new book, it is actually happening to someone in their daily life, in their regular life. Like, that was such a weird thing, and like that concept blew my mind. And the fact that he can hear the narrator's voice in his head as he's living his life, so crazy. And then she had planned to kill him. Sorry, I know, major spoilers, guys, but she planned to kill off the character, but then in the end had a change of heart and wrote it differently and actually kept him because she realized what she was doing and she couldn't deal with that guilt. And oh, it's such a good movie, and there's really cute scenes from Stranger Than Fiction. I'm sure some of you guys, if you look up GIFs for flowers and such like that, or if you wanted to do that GIF, whatever you want to call it, you'll see a scene with Will Ferrell holding a bouquet of flower, but it's actually like the baking flour instead of real flowers. And it's such a quirky, cute little thing. Like, there's cute, quirky little things like that in the movie that are just really great. Really great. And plus the character that Will Ferrell plays, I was realizing how rigid or how routinely he's lived his life, and by the author rewriting his story and changing up the routine, he's appreciating life more and does more with his life. So it's just a really unique movie, and I love that movie so much. And the teacher that taught that movie, I don't think it was actually a film club that I was a part of. I think it may have been like a film class. I think it was a film club that I was a part of. And he spent like the entire 80 minutes talking about that film. I probably could too, but I won't, because yeah, but it was so good. And his passion for the movie and the way it was written as a teacher, I just love teachers with that. So much passion and energy for something as silly as a movie like this. It just sticks with you. So there's that influence. The movie itself, the characters, and the way it's such a unique concept. But then the influence part of it really comes from like that teacher I had and his passion for explaining it. And then he had the movie poster in his room too, so you knew that movie stuck with him when all of that is there. So thank you, Mr. Smilanich, for being a great film club teacher. He was great. Okay, moving away from very typical English class movies, I suppose, here in North America at least. Let's move into something unique. Let's move into something older and a favorite for many people, and at one point wanted me. I wanted to be a storm chaser. Not enough hints or clues for you? What about Rabbit? A character named Rabbit. Oh, now are you getting it? That's right. I'm burning up Twister, baby. Okay, don't get me wrong. Now that I'm older and I know how crazy and scary weather is getting for like the entire world and global warming, terrifies me now to like think about storms and if we are getting a storm, because it's just, you never know how bad it will be. But Twister, 1996 movie. I was 2 years old when this movie came out. Yet, it's still one of my favorite films to this day. I didn't really follow the whole relationships or like that kind of drama and things like that. What I really liked is like the science behind it and throwing out these little like tiny little like balls that would help track the storm and categorize it. And that idea was really neat. But yeah, there's also some really awesome characters, of course, in the movie too. So Bill Paxton's in there. He's Bill Harding. Absolutely amazing. Helen Hunt, amazing actress. Oh gosh, are they? Don't use their full name. There's Rabbit. Sorry. Alan Ruck plays Rabbit back then. God, he has aged. I'm sorry. You've aged well. Not so well, maybe. Todd Field, Wendell Josepher, Lois Smith was in that movie, Philip Hoffman. Just a really great cast and very interesting characters. And to be a storm chaser, you have to be brave. You have to be willing to go into the storm. Or you have to be excited at least, or passionate about weather. And a lot of the characters have that. And I remember watching it when I was younger, so not 2 years old and remembering it as a 2-year-old. Definitely not. But watching it older, and then I've seen it like 5, 6, maybe even 8 times since, because I do like weather. I like studying weather. It still terrifies me as an adult, realizing where our planet is going in terms of climate change and global warming, but something about like somehow the air shifts and suddenly you've got pressure, like a low high pressure system, and the things that can happen when those crash or clash. It just is like, whoa, this world is so uniquely beautiful and dangerous. And it's so cool. I love weather so much, and the different types of clouds and the formations of tornadoes. I was that kid, and grade 6 science for me was all about weather, and I loved it so much. I was really, really into it. And then, of course, the education system here, it goes to biology, chemistry, and physics. So you get a little bit of the weather stuff in those units in like older grades, but you never get a focused weather unit again. And that's unfortunately where I had to stop my pursuit of being a meteorologist. Because yeah, we just stop learning about it. So as the years go on, you kind of start to forget or lose that interest. But now that I'm older and I can kind of reflect back, Twister was way up my alley. It had all the science and tracking storms and putting yourselves out there to like find ways to track it and see where it goes, and if you can predict tornado movement and wind change and all that stuff. So way up my alley. I love Twister to this day, and it's just it's so good. It really is. I love science. I love weather science. I like meteorology and storm chasing. And that's why that movie is my favorite. And such a good classic too. For sure. And last but not least, oh god. Which one? Let's go with a unique one. Let's go with one that piqued my interest in magic. Quite briefly, sadly briefly. There's still an element where I'm really like magic tricks and like seeing people perform them, for sure, like illusion and that kind of thing. So this movie is so cool, and I need the actors for this film because you guys are going to be blown away if you've never seen it. But the movie I'm talking about that has to do with magic and illusion and that kind of thing is called The Prestige. 2006 film, so yeah, it's been 15 years since that movie came out, but I love it. It is one of those movies that, because it is about magic and illusion and tricks and trickery, they play on that very well with the actual characters themselves in the movie. And there's this whole idea of like, how can they perform this trick? How can they do this? How are they able to do this? This is crazy. And Hugh Jackman's in this movie as well. Hey, what up? So is Christian Bale. Scarlett Johansson is in this movie. Oh, David Bowie is too. Rest in peace. Michael Caine. Rebecca Hall, Piper Perabo. Just amazing cast and crew, but what can I say? I want to go into the spoiler of it, but I really also don't, because I want you guys to see it. But there's a competition in this show between a couple of the characters. I think it's Hugh Jackman's character, actually, and Christian Bale's. But they're trying to do the best magic trick, the best illusion that they can, and to basically not only afford a living, but to just wow the world kind of thing. So there's this competition, and then it's a Hugh Jackman's character that figures it out, finds a way to do it, and then at the end of the movie, the entire thing is finally explained in detail of how it happened. And when it's revealed, you're like, you're kidding. You're kidding. That is how? And it blows your mind because it's so clever and so unique, and you can't even predict it. I remember watching the movie the first time in an English class. Oh, I'm sorry guys, English of course. But then I went and rented it again fairly recently, and I was like looking for the plot hooks, looking for the evidence to see like how this trick was slowly kind of revealed throughout the movie, and it's not until the end where they finally go back and reveal all the moments where all the things happen for the trick to happen. And you're like, by God, crazy and so well thought out. The Prestige is just so unique and it has this idea of inventions involved, trick boxes, that kind of thing, and how they're created and invented too. So there's that little historical part to it as well, and trying to be the next great Houdini and all that kind of thing. So if you're really into that, it's a really cool movie. But yeah, there's this whole mystery drama to it that when it's finally revealed, you're just left there going, what the fuck? That's how that happened? Wait a minute. So throughout this entire movie, all of these things were actually happening consistently and thoroughly throughout. And yeah, it sets it up really, really well. It's still one of my favorite movies to this day. And God, I love it so much. So there's that big influence of like magic and mysticism and drama and wanting to figure out how something happens and how it can happen that you guys heard me talk about in my TV shows. So again, that kind of leaks back into the movies too. So The Prestige is like that for me. Very exciting, very cool. I highly recommend it. I'm not spoiling this one. I'm not going to spoil the trick and how it's done. Go watch it and message me. You'll be surprised. Now, quickly, honorable mentions. Let's go through this rapid fire maybe. Or the other dramas that I had that I was going to go into more detail with, but we ran out of time. Fly Away Home is one of my favorite movies from my childhood. It has to do with tracking geese, inventing a little tiny biplane kind of thing, or a little plane to kind of travel and fly with the geese. And it's a beautiful story about heartbreak, difficult life, that kind of thing. Beautiful story about geese, and it's a beautiful movie. I love Fly Away Home. Awakenings I mentioned already, and it's where Robin Williams plays as a doctor and brought into a hospital where these patients basically go into coma with no explanations, or they're slowly progressing to be in a coma basically. And most of the doctors where he's working with just kind of write them off like, well, this is what's going to happen to them, who cares? Well, Robin Williams' character does care. So it's a beautiful movie about bringing humanity back into a difficult medical diagnosis problem situation. So it might be a nice one. Goodness, I've talked a lot. It might be a nice one to maybe watch right now and think about the doctors that are out there facing the pandemic head on and just losing touch with their humanity, and just, I don't know, it's maybe not the best movie to watch right now, but maybe some of us need that. So Awakenings is really good. Plus Robin Williams is a phenomenal actor in this movie too. I mean, in most of his movies he is, but this one particularly beautifully done. Lizzie McGuire movies on here because I love Hilary Duff. That's all you need to know. Plus, if you're a big Lizzie McGuire show fan, the ending makes you very happy. That's all I'll say about that. I have a few sports movies. Oddly enough, I love soccer though growing up. Absolutely, and I still do. I love watching some English Premier League football. But this movie, Bend It Like Beckham, I love the movie. Just cultural influences and dynamics shift and change, trying to be who you want to be, but being forced in a different direction, and all of it coming together in the end. Plus, David Beckham makes an appearance in the movie. So, a good one if you like soccer. King's Speech is really good. I didn't realize that the king did have a stutter and like really did struggle with the confidence in speaking. So, a well done movie. And my favorite scene is where all those curse words come flying out to kind of loosen his jaw and loosen him up quite a bit. Where he goes, fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. Best scene ever. Love that movie. Recommend it. Gattaca's on my list too. It's really neat, and it's like a very futuristic movie where you can alter DNA to kind of have the ideal child for you and your partner. And then just a lot of crazy scientific stuff happens in that movie, and people try to steal things like the DNA mixing mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. Gattaca, by the way, is like a sequence of DNA. I remember that because we oddly watched Gattaca in my biology class because of the DNA and like the futuristic sense of to be able to genetically engineer your own child. It's crazy, but a really cool movie. National Treasure. I like history. Robert Williams is not in National Treasure. He's in my other movie up here, Night at the Museum. There you go. My bad. But I do love National Treasure. Again, all these historical clues and evidences to find some kind of treasure, and the Declaration of Independence and stealing that. Very cool. Historical facts all up the wazoo, up my alley. Guilty Pleasure, The Duff. So again, getting rid of stereotypes and not wanting to be labeled as something and working your ways to kind of escape that label. Guilty Pleasure, love it for sure. Good Will Hunting, love that movie for the teaching again. Teaching influence, fantastic movie there. Freaky Friday has Lindsay Lohan in it, and I just love that movie, and showing like a sense of empathy with your parent because you don't realize what they're going through because you're a teenager and you're busy being rebellious, and then you switch lives and you realize, oh, life is actually kind of hard for both of us. Great movie. Sports one again, Remember the Titans. I love that movie. Good scenes in that movie, and Radio 2. I don't remember them as much, that's why they're kind of on honorable mentions, but I remember watching them and being blown away by like the message and the camaraderie and coming together and being successful in the end. Really great movies there. Radio, Remember the Titans. I got V for Vendetta on here. I have to, as remember the 5th of November. All that stuff. I know. I love the movie. I have the comic book for it too, or like the visual novel book for it. Very good. Love V for Vendetta. It's pretty goddamn relatable to a lot of political things that have happened in the last couple of years, so well done. Love V for Vendetta. 21 I already mentioned. It has Jim Sturgis in it. Very cool movie. Using math to count cards. All that kind of stuff. Being successful. Being caught. All that kind of stuff. Love it. Then, I am a James Bond fan. I will say this. I did love some of the other Bonds throughout my life. Sean Connery. Rest in peace, Sean Connery. Oh my god, I'm getting emotional over so many actors. But my favorite Bond is still Daniel Craig. I know, don't hate me for that or hate me for it. We all have our influences and preferences, but Casino Royale, Skyfall, there's also another one that he was in that's super good. Can't remember it right now at this moment, but love those movies. Casino Royale and Skyfall especially. Perks of Being a Wallflower, I love that movie too. Again, just relatable. I feel like I'm a wallflower in most aspects of my life currently right now, so there's perks to that, but also it kind of sucks, and that idea of balancing it out. Classic here, Jurassic Park. Fuck yeah, give me dinosaurs any day. I'm into it. I'm from Alberta. We have the Albertosaurus. What up? Dinosaurs are all up my alley. For mystery and a little bit of a thriller is Shutter Island. The idea of lobotomies and all that kind of craziness that happens in that movie. Very good. And I also have two recent ones, 1917 and Joker. 1917, historical again, all about World War II, I think. 1917, sorry, World War I. Wow, my brain really did bad there. It's just beautifully filmed. Absolutely super stunning. My mom says the story's not that interesting or whatever. It didn't do anything for her, but I absolutely love the movie. Beautifully filmed. Difficult decisions had to be made for the main character in that movie, and it just really portrays that well, of like in war or in that wartime period, it's just anything can happen and you have to make a split-second decision or else you're gone. So I think that movie does that quite well. And then Joker, I did love Joker a lot. I think it was really well done, portrayed his origin story quite well. And then Harley Quinn as well is on my list too, because again, those two movies work well hand in hand. And Birds of Prey too, I love all of that because it is a darker, twisted idea to a superhero or villain and anti-hero and that kind of thing. So I love all that. Boom! All those movies are some of my absolute favorites. And Night of the Museum is on there too. I have a few comedies like Wedding Crashers, 50 First Dates, all that kind of stuff too, but the ones that I've listed in this episode are my main ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed my rambles and my quick little honorable mentions there, but I wanted to end around an hour and a half and we have made it. So thank you all for listening. Let me know some of your favorite movies. If you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed your drinks and enjoy the time by the fire. I totally forgot to do that in my intro, but I hope you had a good time, and I will see you guys in my next video. Take care, and bye-bye.